Hello, this is Miss Scrippa. This is the next one in the series of videos to help teachers with some online resources. This one is going to be a teacher guide to using Edpuzzle. I know there are a lot of teachers that are already using this, but that not a lot of people are still aware of how to use it. So this is going to be the teacher tutorial. There will be a student one as well about how they can log in and access their assignments. And I will link the URL to the description of this video. But this one is for teachers, just to show what Edpuzzle can do. And Edpuzzle is really, really helpful for remote learning, although I also use it in my in-person classes throughout the year. And it's a way that you can take videos and embed different questions and comments and voice recordings throughout the video. And I find that it's really good for checking student understanding, especially with ELL students, and asking them questions as they're watching a particular video. So I'm going to show my account as an example. And this is what it looks like when you log in. The first part of this is I'm going to show how to create a video, and then in the second part of this video, I'm going to show how you can look at student responses and actually grade things in Edpuzzle. Edpuzzle is free. The only thing is that if you do use the free version, they do limit the number of videos. I find, at least for my class, that it's not too small of a space. But I know that in my account, I have used the total amount of space. So I believe it allows me to have about 24 videos or so for free. And when I do create a new one, I usually just get rid of an old one that I don't need anymore. The really nice thing about Edpuzzle is that you don't have to start your videos from scratch. So this is my content here, but you can also look at what other people in your school have done, as well as what just people in general who are using Edpuzzle have done. So I registered saying that I'm working at Springfield High School, and I can see what some of my coworkers have done. My videos are coming up. My coworker, Rafaela, her things are coming up as well. And this is kind of limited to biology, at least in mine, but I know that the history and English departments use this quite a bit as well. Another thing that you can do is if you go to home, you can search pretty much what anybody has done. So if I search the content up here, I could look for things, for example, about cells. And I could look at not only what I've done, but also what everybody else has done through YouTube. The nice thing is that if you don't see something that somebody's already done on Edpuzzle, I can search just YouTube in general. Maybe I want to find a YouTube cell video that I want to develop and go from there. So you can see not only videos that people have already embedded questions in, but you can also see some just blank videos and kind of start from scratch with your own questions. So for example, let me find another topic that does have some questions already attached to it. Search Edpuzzle to see if there's any with questions. All right, so let's take this one for example. Here's a video that somebody else already made about evolution that they put 5 questions in. And your option here is you can start with one that somebody's already worked with. You can also start with just a blank video, and you can go and edit it as much as you want. So over here, I'm going to click Edit. And you can do all sorts of things. So the first thing that you can do to your video is cut the length. I find this really helpful with my language learner students if there's maybe one part that I want them to focus on, or if there's something that kind of goes out of the scope of the class, I can cut that part out and not have them worry about it. So that's the first step. I'm going to leave this video as it is, so I'm not going to cut it. The next option up here is voiceover. So one thing that you can do is you can actually pause the video at a certain point and record your own voice. I find this really, really helpful in terms of summarizing things or making some clarification if something is new to students. So that's something that you can do, and you would play the video, pause it wherever you like, and then just hit start recording. It's a very straightforward software in terms of how to edit the video. So you can also record your voice. The feature that I use even more often than recording my voice is the question. So this last thing that you can do on the video is add questions. And there are 3 types of questions you can have. So you can add a multiple choice question. You can add an open-ended question where students need to type their response. Or you can just make a comment. So maybe you want to clarify or summarize something without including your voice. that's what the note really is for, and I find that is very helpful as well. So I'm going to look at some of the questions that this teacher has already put in here. So I can see that this teacher has already put in a multiple choice question. Why are the darker frogs surviving the predator? When students log in, they will not see which answer is correct. They will be asked just off the top of their heads which of the three. So I could edit that question if I want to maybe add more options or make it a little bit more difficult. I could get rid of that question, or I could just hit continue and keep it. I'm going to show how to make one from scratch. So that's a question that one teacher already has made, and I chose to keep it. I can also create my own question. So I can type which of these is considered evidence for evolution. And when you type in your options, you can choose which one is correct. So maybe I want the second option to be correct and not the first option. So you can change A, B, or C. I can make all sorts of additional answer choices in here. It's pretty easy to edit through. And when I'm done, I'm going to hit save. I'm just going to very quickly type in just some random things so I can show you. So you can save that question. And you can continue to do this through the end of the video, and there's no limit to the number of notes or questions. You can also include open-ended questions. The nice thing about the multiple choice is that Edpuzzle automatically grades them for you, which it does not do with open-ended questions. So just keep that in mind that if you are doing open-ended questions, it will ask you to go back through and grade them. The computer won't do it on its own. But you can have whatever kind of open-ended question you like that you're going to have students type in. So I can ask them, what does the word fitness mean? I can save that. But you can continue to go through and add different types of questions and notes. But the next thing that I want to show, other than the fact that you can cut videos, add a voiceover, and most importantly, questions, is the really nice thing about Edpuzzle is it does a really, really good job of keeping track of your students and their progress. So I'm going to go back to my home page. The next thing I'm going to show is how to add students to your class. And then the very last thing I'm going to show is how to grade what they've done. So I'm going to look at my classes up here. So right now I'm in my content tab, which is just all the videos that I have. Next, I'm going to go into my classes. And in my classes over here on the left-hand side, you can see I have different periods. I have my biology classes as well as my environmental science. And when you're adding students to your class, if I have a class that already exists, so if I have a student that joins later in the year, I'm going to class options, and I'm going to tell the students the class code. So students, when they make their Edpuzzle accounts, or if they already have one, they can join a particular class by entering the class code. So for this A block class, this would be their class code that students will be asked to type in when they log into their Edpuzzle account. This stays the same the whole year, so it's not going to change between September and January. It'll always be the same throughout the year. And I'm going to make a student video as well that can show how they can register for a class. So if you're interested to see what it looks like on the student's end, you're welcome to watch that video as well. So that's my class code for a period. Let me just close this. I do not want to delete the class. But let me show you really quickly what it looks like when you add a new class. So I'm going to add a new class here. If your school uses Google Classroom, you can automatically invite the students, which is really nice. I know at Central High School, we use more Office products than Google, so we're going to have to do it the other way. So I'm going to call this example class 2. I recommend using a classic class. Open class does not allow students to save their progress and to make a full account. So for high school, at least, and middle school, I really recommend using classic. Open is more kind of if you want to do a one-off video, but not really use it more than once or not have the option to go back to their work. So I recommend always having a classic type class for high school students. You're going to create the class, and then you can invite your students. So that's going to show the code as well. You can also send them the link in an email if that's easier for you. I found that if I just write this on my whiteboard and my class students are able to figure it out pretty easily. So that's how you invite students. If you don't remember where the code is, it's under class options or invite students. So just check one of those two places. They should both have the code. The last thing that I'm going to show is what it looks like once you already have students in a class and once you've assigned a video. So let's look at my class. Here are all the assignments that I've given this class. So I gave this class, let's see one that some of them have done. So I taught them how to do Punnett squares and do some practice on here. And if I click on the video, I can see which students have watched it, how far they got, and how many questions they got correct. So I have one student, Kiana, who started the video, but she didn't quite finish it yet. She's 70% of the way done. I can also look at some of my students. For example, Angel Feliciano, he got 83 out of 100 correct. So this works really well if you have just multiple choice questions. Remember, if you add open-ended questions, you will have to go in and grade that yourself. Or if you're just doing it as a participation grade, it's really easy because you can see which students have done it and which ones have not. Another really good feature about Edpuzzle is you can prevent skipping, which I always keep on for my classes. So this forces students to watch the full video and answer each question. They're not able to skip ahead and pass on to the next question without watching the video. If they don't understand a question and they want to re-watch a part, that is an option on Edpuzzle. So they can go back and watch certain sections again, but it will not allow them to skip ahead. And I always turn on my captions as well. That's if you want to look at one particular assignment and which students have done it. I'm going to go back very quickly and just show one last feature is clicking, instead of on your assignments, clicking on your students. This, I think, is really helpful. I have students all the time forgetting what their password or their username is for Edpuzzle. One mistake that I made was not telling them to just make it the same as their student account, which some students did and some did not. But this is a really good feature. If students do forget, they don't have to make a brand new account. So you can see for each of your students what their name is, what their username is, and you can actually reset their password for them. So a lot of the times, if students forget their password, I just set it to biology so I remember and they remember how to log in again. If you have a student move away or get placed in another class, you can also remove them so that they don't keep getting your assignments. So that's just really helpful on the management part as well. The very last thing that I realized I forgot to show you is how to get your assignments from your content area of assignments that you've made, and how to actually assign them to your class. Once you're done editing, you're ready to give it to them. I'm just going to show it very quickly. It's super easy. You're going to pick whichever video you like. I'm going to go to my content instead of just the ones that generally exist. You're going to click a video, so maybe I'll click on this one that I made about antibiotic resistance. I can double check my questions before I assign it, just make sure that it's all set, and then I can click Assign. So that's how I assign it to my class. I'm going to decide I don't want them to skip. I also want them to be able to see the captions, and then you're just going to select which class or classes you want it to go to. All right. But that's pretty much it in terms of Edpuzzle. Feel free to click around. There's not really anything that you can do that's really going to mess you up. And feel free, I think it's pretty intuitive in terms of adding and editing questions. If you have any questions about using Edpuzzle, I'll attach my email to the description of this video. And I will also attach the link that I'm going to make for students that breaks down a little bit more slowly how they can create an account and join their different classes. But thank you very much, and I hope that that was helpful about Edpuzzle.